Flat earthers don't seem to agree on anything. It's almost like they are so compulsively contrarian that they have to fight everyone, even each other. So while it's impossible to say what flat earthers think, aside from the earth being flat, there are a lot of things that get echoed enough to make them worth addressing. One of the things that several flat earthers cling to that just makes them look like total morons is the idea that the moon gives off its own light. Some of them even seem to think that the light coming from the moon has cooling qualities. Since I'm not aware of any instance of light that has a cooling effect, I'm just going to ignore that idea. That may seem dismissive, but the cooling factor of the whole moon's light seems to be dependent on the moon being a light source in the first place. And that's a much easier idea to show as an obvious joke. When people say that the moon is its own light source, there's only a few things that could mean. First and most likely is that they're just trolling, and the simple fact that I'm making a video about such a stupid idea is a win for them. Second, there's a good chance that some people bought into what the original trolls were selling and never questioned it. Ironically, it seems that flat earthers love to say they question everything, but will automatically accept just about any crazy idea as long as it goes against established science. If the moon gave off its own light, why would there be such a thing as a lunar eclipse? I have to admit that my camera work needs improvement, but I did shoot some video and pictures of the last eclipse. Being able to watch the shadow slowly move across the moon and darken it, and then being able to zoom in and still see the moon in the shadow was pretty neat. If the moon really was its own light source, there would have to be some sort of mechanism in place to account for the light slowly going out along a clear defining line, and then there would have to be some reason for the moon's light to turn red. I haven't heard anyone give a good reason for either of those things yet, but I'm sure there's someone out there that has come up with a batshit explanation that doesn't have any basis in reality. The simple fact that established science not only has an explanation for this, but also has the ability to predict when it will happen makes it pretty tough to dismiss. So if you're going to make claims against what science says causes an eclipse, you better have something really solid. But let's just ignore all of that because it doesn't take an eclipse to show that the moon doesn't give off its own light. All it takes is looking at the moon when it isn't full. When we look at the full moon, it's lit up from a light source that is behind us, and it looks fairly flat because it is evenly lit with no shadows. But when the moon isn't full, we can clearly see the shadows that it casts on itself. Once again, there would have to be some sort of reason why a light source would only be partially lit. Even stranger than that, there would have to be a reason why there would be clear shadows that are caused by the craters. A light source doesn't cast a shadow on itself. The angles of the shadows and the shape of the dark portion of the moon make the whole thing look like one big sphere that's been lit up by a different light source a long ways away. But what do I know? That's just what it looks like when I make observations that anyone can do.